This episode was brought to you by Slate Black Industries. For M-LOK grips and accessories, visit slateBlackIndustries.com. Welcome to the show. We're starting here because I wanted to let you know that the audio 1 did not work when we were on the range. Unfortunately, you'll have to endure through some of that. And 2 was not even on recording when we did the debrief. So after we shoot, I'll invite you back to my own home and we'll talk about it. Just you and I. We'll see you then.
Start at 150.
All right, 150. Impact. Impact. All right, 200. Impact. Impact.
The wind drift is 1 mil.
Wow.
At 200. Not at 500. At 200.
250.
Okay.
Impact.
High.
Yep. Impact.
Center.
300, go ahead. Impact.
Is that on the right?
It was in impact. I heard the...
Yeah, no, I saw the impact too.
The plates just literally isn't moving. All right, 350. Impact. Impact.
The adjustment is 1.5 to the right.
400.
400.
That wind is...
Low.
Impact.
Yeah.
Pretty sure both of those were impacts, right?
Yeah, those are
Yeah.
both impacts.
Okay, 450. Impact.
Impact.
Yeah. Okay, 500.
I was holding a little low, sorry. Ready?
Impact. Impact.
The two before that were my fault because I held it a little, I held it too high. Or no, sorry, I held it too low. I held it at 2 mils instead of 2.5. I mean, I have 20 rounds left. Do you want to see if we can complete the DMR course?
Up to you. I'm probably not going to be able to call it.
I don't think it will. I'll let you know if it hits or not. Then. I could probably call it easier than you.
Okay.
But just train it on to see if you can capture the footage or not.
Yep. Far left square, yeah?
Correct.
Yep, nothing. I lost the camera. I don't know what happened.
Okay. Let me know when you're ready.
No, it just keeps going. It keeps blacking out. Don't understand what it's doing. It's just like going...
Why don't we kill everything and then just start at the 600?
So there you have it. The SG550-1, a very iconic law enforcement sniper rifle. Now, that's a good place to start this. A law enforcement sniper rifle. Our course, I will be the first one to admit, is not the best course to judge a law enforcement counter sniper rifle. Why? You're looking for different things when it comes to military and law enforcement side. Law enforcement snipers typically don't engage past, let's say, 100. 300 meters is quite extreme for them. It's a much shorter distance than military snipers. As such, a 5.56 is not out of the question with the limited engagement, but interesting that the Swiss adopted to the 1 in 10 inch barrel twist that optimizes with the 63 grain projectiles, but that's because the Swiss wanted to be able to use their ball ammunition, which we'll get to that. Law enforcement snipers typically work in more urban environments. We're talking about high LOS, so high angle shots. When you're shooting down alleyways, when you're shooting down roads with multiple wind channels cutting through, that could be challenging. Innocents, no shoots. There's a lot that a law enforcement sniper would be more concerned with. Things are denser in urban areas, but at the same time, you also have more control of the situation, and you could potentially be able to set your gear up a little easier than if you were military and having to infill and exfil a hide site. Now, this SG550-1 sniper, it has a good part of it that is, let's say, a carbon copy of the original SG550-1, but it's not exactly the same. This is a 2018 build. Same barrel, in fact, the exact same barrel blanks were put into these new build SG550-1s. Same receiver, obviously, same bulk carrier group. So the heart of the system is the same. You'll see that it has front sights, which the original ones did not. You'll see that the bipod system on this is a little different. This is the original SG550 bipod, which is not the 550-1 bipod, which has more adjustability. The trigger is different on this. It's still adjustable. It's still a good trigger, but it's not the same. It doesn't take it to the same level as the original 550-1. Has a rear sight. Scope mounting system is different. This is actually quite nice because we have more Picatinny options now. So that's why I was able to mount a PA scope on here, which I must say I shot this at 10x, no dial the entire time. Stock is fully adjustable. I think 3-position SG550 stock, which the original one had a 30-some 40-position adjustable stock. So is this the same thing? Is this a good representation of what the original one would do? I would think so, yes, because a lot of those variations come down to the customizable components and not the critical components, i.e. The barrel and the bolt and the receiver, obviously. Shots from 1 to 500, no issues. When we stepped out past 500, we started seeing issues, but also we were shooting 55 grain projectiles in high wind conditions. So I think we were quite on the edge of what the projectile was able to deliver. That said, I know this is a 1 to 10 inch twist barrel, and I know that's going to be a topic that a lot of people are going to say, well, why did the Swiss do 1 in 10? That way you can't stabilize anything north of a 62 grain projectile. That is not true. A lot of people in the States, they think of barrel twist being the only element contributing to the type of ammunition a rifle can stabilize. In this case, the 1 to 10 inch twist barrel, being a 25 inch long barrel, is in fact able to stabilize a 69 grain projectiles. Consider this. Now this is, I shot this for Chris over at Small Arms Solutions. These are 55 grain loads, and these are 60 and 62 grain loads. And you can see the general grouping is quite similar. If you were to compare, later on we also shot 69 grain Black Hills ammunition. It's actually quite similar to the other ones. There's no oval-shaped holes. I believe the projectiles were stabilized coming out of the barrel. Now, why is that? Two things. Stabilizations here, the factor of the twist rate and also the amount of barrel for it to establish the stabilized flight path. So it has 2.5 rotations as it's exiting the barrel at this point. So significantly more time to establish stabilization. I forgot to talk about this. So the trigger on the SG550s are actually quite nice. However, you have to tune it. When I was initially handed this thing, the guy before me told me, oh, it's got a horrible trigger for a $5,000 some dollar rifle. But I knew that SG550s, you have to tune the back plunger if you have one of these types of triggers. Now, the way the trigger is, and I could do a quick test with you here, the plunger itself acts as sort of almost like a wall. That acts as the extreme resistance as it goes up to it. So if we were to pull the trigger, we have that first stage, almost like a second stage, and then this is the wall at the second stage, and then a really crisp let-off. But that let-off, the wall, is extremely intense of a wall. And that's because I tuned this to back it right in front of where the brake is. The brake is very crisp, but there is almost an extra stage. Let's take a step back here. This was conceived during the 90s. The idea was to have a foldable sniper system that you could stow away whenever you needed it. If a law enforcement officer were to take a target from 1 to 300 meters, quickly deploy this, boom, and everybody goes home, except for the terrorists, of course. This was the era of a lot of varmint rifles, and I say that because I was also an owner of a varmint rifle back in the day. I owned a Bushmaster or Rock River Arms 24-inch long barrel varminter. Now mine was a 1-in-9 twist, but regardless, the sport was to shoot these little small rock chucks about this size, so the size of a human head, lengthwise, not widthwise. And typically your engagement was from 1 to 600 meters. Most of the time, 300 to 400 you would top out. But that's actually coincides quite a bit with what a law enforcement officer of that era would be looking for. You're talking about something that could zip a melon-size target from 0 to 400 meters. Yes, it had a long barrel, but they weren't really concerned about infill or exfilling from a location. So that was a non-issue. They didn't really care about flash signature because, quite frankly, you had more control of the environment than the opponent did. So what was it? I mean, the big difference between that and this is that this runs the AK, the Kalashnikov type system, long stroke gas piston with a 2-lug rotating bolt. Quite frankly, when I speak to my friends in Switzerland, Mike specifically, and Fabian over on Bloke on the Range and the chap, SIG 550s are about 1.5 MOA rifles. That's the difficult pill for a lot of people to swallow, but that is the truth.
They're all up there, clustered in like 6 or 8 inches.
Yeah.
Wow.
The AR-15, at a fraction of the cost, is able to produce a tighter grouping rifle. And as everything progressed, as we got in the global war on terror, we looked more towards rifles like the Mark 12 that had 18-inch barrels that could shoot 77-grain projectiles, reach out much farther than 600, group tighter than what the SG550-1 could. And quite frankly, right now, the more you look at it, the role of the designated marksman had overtaken the role of that law enforcement sniper rifle that was conceived during the early 90s. And so if you were a law enforcement agency, do you think someone would be going for something like this? I don't see it. But if you're a collector, would you go for something like this? Yes, absolutely yes, because these had some of the original barrel blanks. As a collectible, I think this thing has tremendous value because it's originally assembled from the actual manufacturer. It uses OEM equipment, OEM tooling. Quite frankly, yes, the value is there for a collector. So we've got to discern between where technology has come versus where technology was. Even though it wasn't that far between now and then, we've really worked out a lot of kinks when it comes to that particular arena. And quite frankly, if you look at law enforcement, police, snipers, you don't see this concept anymore. It just doesn't exist. That being said, I do want to thank the crew over at Michiko, William and Jay, for giving me the opportunity to shoot this with Josh. It was an incredible experience to take something that, as a child, I'd only read about. I'd only see it in Counterstrike as the auto snipe. Let us know what you think in the comments section. Would you buy something like this? We'll see you on the range. Do you enjoy arguing with other viewers on the internet on which rifle performs better on practical accuracy? Well, we have a solution for you. Go to our Patreon page and scroll down. You'll find the practical accuracy scoreboard where we have ranked and compiled all the data of all the firearms we have tested on the practical accuracy course. Furthermore, it's already separated into the different categories, so you can go back to your argument as quickly as possible. And whether you decide to support us via Patreon, subscription, or just a normal viewer, we thank you.
716, this is 096, 4 Vic, 8 packs, red con 1, green to green. How copy, over?
096, this is 716, roger, over. 16, 091, 1 pack, green, over. This is 716, roger, over. 16, 15 like 2, 1 Victor, 2 packs, red con 1, over.